Hi, this is your County Executive, Ed Day, and I welcome you once again to the County Executives Forum. We run this show roughly every month, and the purpose of this is for you to get a good look at what your county government does for you. Most people don't know the difference between levels of government. It's certainly understandable. The idea is to deliver services to the people and businesses of Rockland County. But I think it's important to know it's the county level of government, which represents about 10% of your total taxes. The amount that county government touches you in so many different ways really is overwhelming at times. So we think it's important that you know these things. You get a sense of where your dollar is going when you spend money for taxation. And today we're bringing to you something that was very, very timely not so long ago between snow and storms. But we felt it was appropriate at this time to get an inside look at the County Highway Department. The Highway Department oversees about 170 miles worth of roads here in Rockland County, but they do a lot more than just plow the roads. And with that, we have here our Highway Superintendent, Charles Skip Vezzetti. Skip, I want to welcome you to the show.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks
Good
for
to
being
see
here.
you.
I think the first question I want to ask you is give us a sense of an overview of the Highway Department. What does the Highway Department actually do?
Well, the Highway Department has several divisions. We provide various types of services. Our divisions are, we have our administrative division, which administers all our different operations. We have a traffic and safety division, which goes out there and is responsible for making sure that signs are correctly placed, that markings on the roads are correctly done. We have a surveying, a full-service surveying crew with a licensed surveyor available. We have an engineering division, which has saved the county millions of dollars annually by working with our state and federal partners in getting funding for many of our road and bridge projects. We have the operations division, which we happen to call the Merry Men. They're the people who go out there and do the actual physical labor work, building catch basins, paving, doing pothole repair, tree removal, doing our snow and ice removal. And they're out there during all types of weather events. So they're the heart and soul of the Highway Department. Also, we have our drainage agency. Drainage agency regulates approximately 80 miles of county regulated stream to make sure that any individuals or corporations that are building or doing anything within 100 feet of the stream are doing it in a proper manner, and that they won't impede or pollute our streams.
Right, and you know, it's interesting you brought the issue up of saving taxpayers' money. Obviously, we're aware, probably picked one of the major projects that most people have seen occur, the New Hempstead Road project. Now, most people, again, we would never expect to understand that by the fact that we plan out these projects, so when we have to do a complete road takedown, for example, the entirety of that project is, as I recollect, an 85, 10, 5% split.
Right.
Give the people, just for this one project, the total cost of that project and what percentage was covered by 3 different levels of government.
Well,
approximately.
that was approximately a $30 million project. Included full reconstruction of the roadway, included the replacement of the bridge over the Demarisk Hill. That was paid at 75% was federal. Right. 15% was state, and we ended up with a 5% portion for the county. So it was, when you really get down to it, it was an insignificant amount that we actually ended up paying. Yeah,
again, it's something that's important because we have the operations and highway department working in hand in glove with the other partners we have in government. We're able to get this done without going to the taxpayers, and so people understand what the cost is. $30 million is probably in the area of, I would say, vicinity of about a 23% property tax increase. That's how much money we're talking about. So people, we tend to lose sight of what numbers are, but numbers have impact. So when we take these actions to save that much money on local share, we save a lot of dollars that can translate into major tax increases. So we're keeping taxes down over the past few years, We've been able to do this because of a lot of effort in situations such as this. What I really, before I get too far along, you have a lot of experience here in the county. You got to the place you're at. You had a journey. Could you tell us a little about your background and how you got to be superintendent of the County Highway Department?
County Highway. Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting. I grew up here in Rockland County. I lived in Palisades all my life. I was very fortunate back in 1982. The town board from the town of Orangetown appointed me Commissioner of Public Works. So I ran our Public Works Department in Orangetown for 10 years till 1992, which included highways. We had parks and recreation, sewer, and that. But my main function, of course, was as the town highway superintendent, and something that I really enjoyed. It was a challenge, and from that point there, I went into the private sector into the paving and road construction industry. And then in 1999, when Doug Jobson was retiring,
right,
the county executive called and asked if I'd be interested. I'd been recommended by a number of people, a number of highway superintendents, thank goodness. And I was more than pleased to come to the county. So I've been here now, I'm on my 19th year, and it's been a great journey.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, first of all, I would point out that, like many people in county government, most folks at home don't realize that we aren't full of people who've had complete experience within government. We have people who've been in and out of government, people who've come from the outside, the private sector, all that contribute to the good work we do in Rockland County. And I have to admit one thing, you and your team, I routinely get compliments on the county roadways, especially in the snow. We know how difficult it is for the employees of your department. Could you give the people here a chance to understand what it's like when you have a snowstorm heading our way? What do we actually do to ensure that as soon as there's enough snow to plow, that we're at the ready immediately to go out and do what we have to do?
Well, usually we anticipate a storm well in advance.
Right.
You know, we pay for a very sophisticated weather forecasting program. We're able to watch the storm develop and move across, and that helps us. And sometimes it's even better than what you would normally see on TV.
Right.
It's very detailed. So once we know or anticipate there's a storm going to be hitting Rockland, of course, we want to ensure that all our supplies are full. Make sure we have plenty of salt, plenty of liquids. We generally speaking will go out and pre-treat our roads. Yep. Which is a process called anti-icing.
Right. And people see the line, when you see the lines in the road, people, that's exactly what that pre-treatment is.
And Rockland County and the towns in Rockland we were leaders in that field. We were the first ones in the whole Northeast, I believe, that ever did that, and now it's used universally.
Yes.
We also make sure we have plenty of salt on hand. Our mechanics check all our trucks. Our men check their trucks. They actually run their routes to make sure that everything's clear, that we don't have any impediments that would damage the truck or cause a problem. And then we try to get our timing right. In some cases, we were able to do it. If, for instance, if a snowstorm is coming in early in the morning, we'll actually call the men in early, get everything staged, loaded, have them out on their runs, because in many cases it takes a truck quite a bit of time to get to where they're actually providing the service.
Yes. And it's interesting you brought that up. One of the signature projects that we're taking on in county government, as everybody understands, we had a bit of a tough time fiscally when we came in the door in 2014. We were in very bad shape. We've been very cheap, I guess is the best way of putting it. We have not spent a lot of money, bonding or otherwise. We got out of the hole, and we are now focusing on the complete improvement and renaissance of this county now. But one of the items that has been around for so many years was the highway garage. Going back to, I think, 1965, we were speaking of. So we're looking at 40 years or so where the notion of a highway garage not being where it is, I mean, it's really in the middle of a hamlet of New City. Operationally, it's challenging, obviously, to get to deploy resources, to get them out to the various parts of the county as rapidly as possible, which translates into better service for the people who are watching at home. That mired, I think it came back up again in the early 2000s, again, it got into a logjam of political discourse. It went nowhere. This is well before I got involved in government, obviously. So we resurrected it again. I remember you brought the project forward. Again, what we did this time, and you'll recollect the conversation, we looked at the size and the scope of the project. We all agreed we did not want to have this in the middle of a Hamlet Center. We had a location out in Chestnut Ridge, which you can get into in a moment. We looked at the cost that was laid out. We went back to the drawing board, and we had the things we do here in county government now. We looked at cost-benefit analysis. We looked at return on investment, and you prepared an analysis for the entirety of it that showed that by taking these steps now, at a lot of levels, whether it be operationally, whether it be through saving equipment, getting equipment inside as opposed to being subjected to the elements and getting ruined out there. We also spoke about the size of the project. We reduced it by 12% at $5 million, and then we went to bonding. But give the folks out there just a sense, and by the way, the land cost all of $1, as I recollect. So we got a great bargain on that one, folks. Give the people a sense of what this highway garage is going to look like, and what it's going to be. Why is it important to the people at home to know this?
Well, our current facility is, my understanding is, it's the oldest continuously used county highway facility in the state. Actually, we're one of the earliest formed highway departments in the state, and it's been in service for over 80 years.
Right.
So actually back in '65, Nelson Hall suggested to the at that time they didn't have a legislature, they had a board of supervisors. He said it was poorly located, they should relocate it. They sort of bought him off by building him an office. So, but subsequently, well, there were a couple of studies done, and then, of course, under a previous county exec Vandoff, and then under your leadership, we tried to move it along. We did an analysis as far as the location, and the location we found, we tried to find the geographic center of our southern service area, and we were fortunate that it's right at the intersection of, for instance, the Thruway is there, Route 59, Pascack Road, very easy access to the Palisades Parkway. So in case of emergencies, we can get anywhere in the county very easily. We approached the state, as you said. We were fortunate enough to get the 24 acres for $1.
Well, we had to bond that, I'm sure, that dollar.
But that was a great find, and it gives us easy access. It's not an easy site to work with. It's an odd shape, and that was one of the issues we had to deal with initially when we did the original design. After you gave us the approval to go ahead and continue looking at the new facility, my deputy Andy Connors, who's been essentially the lead on engineering on this, working with our consultant, which is McLaren.
Right.
They've been looking at it. We've came up with different types of ways of relocating the buildings. We did some of the site work ourselves already. So we've essentially gotten the price down significantly. The original bid price was $35 million. That was the bid price without engineering. Right now we're looking at probably construction in the $25–26 million area, and we're hoping to be able to bring a building in with all things considered, including furniture, in the $30 million range.
Right. And again, the people at home, when we look at this as an investment, these are things, as you can see, we have the oldest highway garage in the state. Clearly, we need to change. So the question is, when do you do it and how do you do it? We decided when was now, because our bonds have been upgraded 7 times because of our increased ability to manage our finances in Rockland County. The interest rate's still down, so bonding was an ideal time to bond this project. It's minimal cost to the county taxpayers. We do not have a large debt service right now. The biggest thing we're paying off is deficit bond, but we got that under control. So it allows us to do things such as this. And also, the highway garage may seem a bit nebulous to the people back at home, but the one thing they do notice are the roads themselves. Yeah. So I know we have a project in Orangetown, we have a project up in Haverstraw. Give us a little background on where the money's going to serve the people of the various towns in Rockland.
Well, for instance, we're as of today, I passed 3 of our projects going on. We've started our road repair and resurfacing program. We'll be doing about $2.4 million worth of resurfacing this year in all of the different towns. We have a pavement preservation program that was rated number 1 in the entire country years ago. We continue with that. We use a scientific method by applying the proper products and the type of techniques we use for redoing the roads to the type of road that it is. We have those ongoing. We've just opened the Orangeburg Road Bridge, which is just completed. If those of you down in Orangetown, or if you're passing through, take a look at the bridge. It's not only a beautiful new structure. Interestingly enough, it's been redesigned. We've actually reduced the size of the bridge significantly, almost in half, which means a lot less maintenance.
Right.
And hopefully this bridge will last a lot longer than our previous bridge. We also started the Sampsondale Avenue Bridge a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
Matter of fact, the last couple of weeks we've been removing the deck there. That'll be that's over the another bridge over the railroad. So that's another project that we'll only be paying 5% on. Projects in the works right now, some of them are being engineered, we have the Lawrence Street Pascack Road intersection that will be that's on the books. When we're working on that, we're also working on the engineering for the it's the Hammond Roads, Suffern Lane, and Thiels Mount Ivy intersection up there. One of the interesting things most people don't realize, our engineers and our consultants just don't present one idea. We have to come up with multiple ideas and present them to the state, because they're essentially paying the state and federal government are paying the bulk of it. They essentially decide which is the best plan. And then we move on there, go on to the final engineering phases. So we have those. We're working on the Suffern Lane retention wall, which is also going to be that'll be paid for with FEMA funds.
Right.
So we have that. We should, within the next couple of weeks, finalize our takings, meaning that we needed some easements down on River Road in Grandview. Right. Now that's been on the books for 20 years, but we're going to get that one done, and we're also working on Congers Road. Right. Which will run from right about from the reservoir and then come west to just past the high school. Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. People ask me, about infrastructure. All too often, you read horror stories about governments and politicians who keep putting off the necessary because they don't want to spend the money now. I have a resistance to that. My attitude, and we shared this very early on when I came in as county executive 4+ years ago, that if we do not deal with these issues now, all we're doing is putting our children and grandchildren in a place where they have to not only pay for it, but 3 to 4 to 5 times the cost that we could do it now for. So, it's a balance, obviously, that we do these things. And people who are listening in today, we want everyone to understand that we're very careful with your money. And we look at it as an investment, but we also want to ensure that we don't kick the can down the proverbial road, that we make good judgments the best we can now, and to ensure that the infrastructure is strong, because that is truly the gift that we give to our children and our grandchildren. So you've been a great partner in that, getting things done in a manner that is as inexpensive as possible, working with myself and my administration and our finance department to get things done in a way that's minimally intrusive upon our pocketbook, such as it is. I know there are a couple of things that I know. Obviously, we have 170 miles worth of roads. There are a lot more roads than that in the county, but they have the oversight of the towns typically. Also, I know is one item that you brought up that I was amazed at, the ability to create asphalt on the fly with waste tar. Would you explain? This to me is such an amazing item, and the effort that went into it is just really something.
Well, as I recall, right after you were elected, we had the opportunity. We try to go out and look at new technology in all manners, and it had been brought to our attention that there was a process by which we could reconstitute and make hot mix asphalt during the winter.
Right.
Using the berms. I mean, those, when the plows go along, they peel them up. I mean, they do it almost every year in certain areas. It's very difficult.
But we
when you
fix
have
them.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But, in heavy snow,
Right.
these guys are driving really big trucks.
Yes.
And it's very difficult, especially when to judge exactly where the edge is. So we have some of that. And then we were able to take that material, and also material that we may dig out when we're doing road repair, and reuse that. We put that back into this machine. We add asphalt to it, and it's heated, and it comes back out as hot mix. And we use that all winter long. As a matter of fact, when you gave the go-ahead to buy that, we thought it was going to take us 3 years to pay it off. We paid it off the first year.
Now, what was the savings on the typical about 50%, or was some significant savings?
Oh yeah,
on that?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's cost us. It's probably costing us about 40% of what regular hot mix or what they call a cold patch would
Right,
cost.
and everybody understands, because they've heard this before, that paving in the winter is something we really can't do as a routine. But here we are, bringing a technology to serve the people
Right.
and the roadways to make sure the roads are the best they can be, regardless of what time of year it is. So it's really it's amazing to see that. It really is. Yeah. And again, you made a mention of what it's like to be in a snowplow. As you remember, I typically try to get out in a plow at least once a year, but it really is really an overwhelming situation for a driver to be running a rig like that. And we always tell people, please give plows a wide berth, because they cannot move as quick as you can in a car. As you said earlier, our drivers go out early to take a look at their route before they go out for the real thing. So it's really, it's amazing watch. But I have to give, and I know you certainly concur with this, you've said it many times, I have to give a salute to the employees of the Highway Department for the work they do, especially hours and hours and hours of being awake and operating heavy machinery to keep the roads as clear as possible during sometimes very difficult storms. One thing that always comes up, and as you know, we're involved in a shared service initiative formally by virtue of state law now.
That's right.
We always have worked well with the towns, obviously, and the villages to make sure that things are done for all the people of Rockland. We have a shared service initiative. Could you briefly touch upon some of the things being looked at now and some of the things we normally do?
Yeah, well, we've had a number of meetings with all the various highway departments and DPW people throughout the county, both the towns, the villages, and the state has participated, looking at ways where we can share equipment. But the truth of the matter is that over the years, highway departments, of all the departments that I'm aware of, have always been probably the most how could I put it? We work together well. Let me put it that. Agreeable, right. We're happy to help one another, because we all understand we're all in the same boat. Over the years, so as far as the county is concerned, we have certain specialty pieces of equipment that the towns, and it doesn't pay for the towns and villages to own certain pieces of equipment, because it'd probably just sit there part of the, most of the year.
The impact, obviously, we prevent the impact upon taxpayers who are paying town taxes, for example.
Right. Yeah. So our biggest things are, well, we have graders, we have bulldozers that most of the towns don't have. We're willing to let them use those. Our biggest piece of equipment is our line striping machine, which we put down all the center line and road edge striping for all the villages in the town in the county. Right. Now, if they had to go out and bid that and get a private sector, it would cost them millions, and we know that. And all we charge for is their percentage of the maintenance for that piece of equipment. So it might cost a couple of $1,000s, but the way we always viewed it is all the taxpayers paid for it.
Exactly.
So that's how we want to help one another.
We're not parochial. We share training, things of that nature. We look to work together, and again, the goal is to minimize cost to taxpayers, make every dollar spent make sense. One final thing before we close up, I know there's something on May 23rd that's happening that there are people in Orangetown who are very excited about on Western Highway. Tell the folks what we have going.
The 23rd is World Turtle Day, and for those of you who go around Rockland, on Western Highway in particular, there's a location near the Suez Water owns of that part of the reservoir there. There are numerous turtles come out to lay their eggs every year.
Yep.
It's been going on probably for thousands of years. But with development, it becomes difficult. And of course, cars aren't the turtles' best friends.
No.
So these people, and I have to give them a lot of credit. Especially those ladies there who spend their time. They put out signs, they get out there, they try to protect turtles. The last couple of years, they've been putting special barriers there to keep the turtles and building nesting areas for them. But this year, we're going to be providing a sign, special signs on both ends, so that the motorists are aware that possibly the turtles might be crossing, and please don't run them over.
No, and they travel slow, as we all know. We all understand that. But I give the people in that community a lot of credit and again, our ecology is very balanced, obviously, and to see that kind of focus and that kind of concern for all aspects of the neighborhood, including our little mammal life, I guess we would call it. It's really something. So I know you make a lot of people happy with that, Skip, and I just want to thank you for everything you're doing there.
Thank you.
You know, again, I cannot say enough about your team you have assembled at the Highway Department. Tremendous work done under very difficult circumstances. Obviously, a former first responder, spent many years in the NYPD. And, you know, going sleepless for a while, you know, through patrol and arrest and court cases and things like that can have a wear and tear on you.
Absolutely.
So I think, you know, people, you know, when you see those plow drivers out there, understand that they're operating with 24 hours or more in a row. Obviously, supervisors try to manage to get them some sleep.
Yes.
So it's a difficult job. It really is, and they do a lot in service to the county. So I want to thank you and your team for
Thanks,
that.
Ed. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming on board today to let people know what's going on and being part of our great county team.
Great.
Really. And to our folks at home. Again, I hope you enjoyed this segment. I hope that it's given you some additional insight into exactly what county government does, and we will continue to bring back different aspects of county government so you can get a better look under the hood, such as it is, that you know exactly what you're getting for your very, very well-earned dollar when it comes to taxes. And again, we are now looking to enhance this entire county. We're at a crisis. We're looking to build now this county into I call it a renaissance for all to enjoy, and most importantly, that we deliver a strong county into the hands of our children and grandchildren, just as this county was delivered to us by those who came before us. So with that, have yourself a wonderful evening, and until again, this is your Rockland County Executive Ed Day. Thank you for joining us.